When my friends heard that I was writing lyrics or raps, that was kind of like the weirdest thing to them ever. So when I went to school the next day, the one person, Tom Kiriakou, shout out Tom Kiriakou,
Big up, Tom, and the whole
who
Kiriaki
I did
clan.
it for, yeah, yeah, the brother, sister, all of them. So what happened was I did it in front of him. He made me do it in front of his sister Mary,
Oh, we
and
all
she
love
loved
Mary.
it. Yeah, yeah. So she loved it. So when I basically came to school the next day, everyone was asking me to do it. I did it, and it was a good response. It didn't make me want to go write more raps, but it just let me know that if I wanted to get back to it, it's something I could have maybe pursued a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
dope. Wow, your total flashback of you talking about the Kiriakus and them, being part of your audience. So yeah, we had some great times in the St. Andrews. So if we fast forward now, what did it look like when you connected with some of the team that ultimately became Monolith, and how did Monolith kind of come to be?
For me, it was super. It was like exciting, but it was really intimidating at the same time because you got to realize like the other half of Monolith was called Lyrical Coalition. Our side was called the Horde, and that was me, IRS, and Landscape. The other half was all North Scarborough, like Lieberman, Catholic school kind of vibes, and they were all established. I grew up seeing Daniel doing electric circuses. I grew up seeing YOK with MVP, um, Rap City, and all this kind of stuff. So it was intimidating meeting them for the first time, and actually rhyming in a cypher with them, freestyling for the first time was crazy. But it also makes you better, obviously, because you're with people who are at that level already. So it helped me a lot. And it was the first time I think a big crew in Scarborough like that got together and combined.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, you think of obviously there were other crews and other rappers that rapped in Scarborough, and you think no further than obviously Socrates, and you had Tara Chase come out of the area, and although she's from Montreal, and then you have Cardinal, and obviously way before that, the godfather of hip hop in Toronto, which was Maestro. But yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing that you all kind of connected, and my favorite song of everything that you guys have ever done is Danish. So tell me about the experience about
Cool.
you and Daniel putting that song together.
Well, Danish was something that was I wasn't on a lot of songs on the Monolith EP. So they wanted to get me more songs. So Dan came to me with an idea to do a track together, and I was down, but I said, let's do a concept, and let's try to make it like have to do with us, like our backgrounds or something like that, right? So one day I'm listening to a posse cut. I forget what posse cut it is, man. Maybe it's Shaheem or something like that. But at the end, one of the guys, I think it's Pop the Brown Hornet or something like that. And he goes, "It doesn't matter if you're Japanese or Jamaican." And when I heard that, I sent it to him right away, and he loved it. And then that's how Danish came out, man. And then that's how we
Amazing.
just worked from that sample. Yeah,
Yeah, because the sample works so well. So
yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, finding
it's
that was crazy.
absolutely wild
Yeah,
how that sample kind of came to be. So, I think the next
yeah.
thing that I have on my list things to kind of ask you. So, I know you've been working on some stuff as of late, but how did it ultimately come to be? Because I've seen
Yeah.
the legendary DJ Premier give you a shout out every once in a while. So, how did it come
Yeah.
to be that he heard your
Mm.
music?
It basically me and Lance decided to start doing music. I don't know when it was, like maybe 4 years ago, and we started to put it out on platforms that I never put my music out on because I was more vinyl CD type vibe. So this was more all digital and on all these different platforms. So we just did it to give it a shot to see how it was. The response was pretty cool, so we just kept doing it. And what we did was Lance created a DJ list of all the different people, whether it was serious DJs or just underground DJs all over the States and Canada. And I guess we didn't have his direct link, but I guess being in the mix of all the different DJs that are together, someone in his crew, obviously, or someone that he DJs with, obviously got it to him somehow. And then I got a call once, and my friend was playing it to me on the phone, and he's like, "Yo, Primo's playing your shit." I was like, "That's crazy." So from then on, um, we got a link, and we just kept sending him music, and he kept supporting, which was a crazy run. Yeah, that was crazy. Shout out Primo.
Yes, definitely shout out the legendary DJ Premier from Gangstar. So yeah, like that is a wild journey that somehow he finds your music and better than that, he loves your music and wants to play your music and he mixes your music. So
Yeah,
that's a pretty
yeah,
amazing, call it feather in your cap that actually happened. Obviously
yeah,
we've
man.
been through a lot the last 3 years with this whole pandemic, COVID thing, and it's really kind of shut down many artists from going out there and one even wanting to create their music, but then obviously one of the big elements of hip hop is actually performing it. So where are you at right now in terms of being out there and performing? Do you have some upcoming concerts or showcases that you'll be involved in that people can hear more of what you're doing?
Right at the moment, we don't, but we have an EP coming out soon, which I was showing you on IG. Um, we don't have a release date yet, but we have a 5 song EP, 5 instrumentals on the other side. It's on wax, it's pressed, ready to go.
Nice.
Out of UK, out of this label, new label called Spread Butter, and they got in contact with us and they asked us if we wanted to do an EP. We were like, yes. So it's now finished. Like you said, I showed you the copies. We don't have a release date yet. We're going to talk about it, but hopefully shows will come, after a release of a project or something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so that's an interesting topic that I think leads into my next question. The whole process of either you doing it independently or you getting signed, like maybe you can kind of share like your experience of even trying to shop your demo and getting someone to try and getting signed, and then however route you decided to put your music out, what did that look like? Maybe you can kind of give us your perspective and what your journey looked like.
You mean like at the beginning?
Yeah.
Like the beginning, it was more you had to do shows, you had to get out there and perform.
Hmm.
And then the music, like hearing them on the radio, was almost secondary because it's almost like they needed to see you to prove to them that they could support your music. It's not like now where like you can post a vid and people are down. It's like you had to be in their face, like
Yeah.
after a show, like let's say Black Moon, performs. Like Monolith was known for like freestyle session after the concert out front, that type of thing, right? And that's how a lot of people used to get their name out. It was just like in your face, like I'm rapping, listen to me, you like me, you don't. That's cool, but I'm here and I'm rapping. You know what I mean? It's not. It wasn't more. It was more out front. And basically, if you weren't doing shows, um, you weren't really getting recognized too much, man. Like it was all about trying to get the right shows with the right people. Yeah,
Yeah.
coming up. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that is that it is such a fickle thing, and it's great to hear your perspective because again, I'm not an MC. I am behind the mic, but I'm not an MC, and just to hear that that's how you had to do it is you had to be out there. You think of in the 80s and in the 90s when you became super relevant, particularly here in Toronto. Yeah, it's never been an easy thing, and I've talked to other artists and yeah, it's one of those things you kind of have to work through, right? So, you as an artist, and obviously, you rapped about it many times, and you're from Japanese descent. What is it
Yeah.
like to be a Japanese rapper, a rapper from Asia? Because that's I wouldn't say that's not uncommon or unknown, but definitely it's there's few of you in comparison to how the culture has been built by blacks and others, but
Mm.
it's out there that obviously you're Asian, and just give us your perspective of what do you think it's been like for you.
Well, for me, it was phases. It was like when I first started to rap, that was always in the back of my mind. And I always thought that it could go two ways. If I have the skill to back it, then it's cool. But if I don't, then it could go bad, right? Because it could follow stereotypes and all this kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
to me, what it was for me, I'll be honest with you, it was my crew. When I got with my crew, they gave me a lot of confidence, and they gave me the confidence to the point where they were out there telling people before I was even out, we have a secret weapon. We have this dude. You don't even realize what's going to happen when this dude comes out. And I heard people tell me that they were saying this. So for me, it was a lot of confidence, a confident booster. But at the same time, I was like, I have to represent for these comments that they're making about me. So it made me push even harder and write those crazy lyrics that that people wanted to hear. So that's what basically happened for me. It was my crew, man. It was the confidence that my crew gave me that pushed me to not care about, you know, not to worry about my race or my background or anything like that. They made me feel so comfortable, and that made me get in my zone. And if it wasn't for them, I would have never been able to get in the zone that I was in my my underground career, pretty much, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so again, that's so dope to hear. Your crew has been the one that has really embraced you because I think that's the power and the strength of being in numbers. And sometimes, yeah, people want to carve their own path and do it their own way, but I think really doing it with the crew and your crew being your biggest fan base and your biggest supporters, since I think it says a lot about the people that you've rolled with over these years, but also I think it says,
Yeah.
for the success and the notoriety that you've had in the city and now even internationally. It says a lot about your skill level and says a lot about what you've been spitting for decades now. And that's a crazy thing. Like we are both in our 40s and you've been spitting
Yeah.
for decades. And you've
Yeah.
been one of the best rappers in Toronto for a very long time.
Thanks,
So
man.
Nish, not only much love to you. And, obviously I know you personally and we went to school together, but for you as an
Yeah.
MC and the caliber of rhymes and the rhyme cadence is pretty amazing. So I got a couple
Thank
other
you, bro. I
questions
appreciate
just
it.
kind of here on the side, but,
Yeah.
obviously, you're one of these MCs that can rapid fire, and spit multi-syllable. Was there any MCs that obviously, whether it's the greats or underground guys that kind of inspired your style?
Oh my God. There's so many, man. I mean, there's those, the classic five, but I'm I had a very particular taste. So yeah, a lot of underground dudes did influence me more than others. Like for me, it was like I love groups like Artifacts, like the ITC, but my main influences for sure were Kane, Cuba, Finesse. I don't know, like that's and then all the other guys that come after that, like the
Hmm.
Biggies, KRS Ones, all that kind of stuff. But for me, top three is Kane, Puba, Finesse, 100%.
Yeah, I can definitely hear I can hear the Juice Crew in you. And I know you mentioned Kane, but the first person that I think of Cool G Rap. I think
Cool.
of yeah, I think of I when I hear you rap, I hear Cool G Rap. And not saying that you took his style, but I said like I can see how that speed of rap and Kane is very similar and that they were competitive, the friendly competitive, and that's how they became who they are today. But I definitely hear Cool G Rap and I hear Big Daddy Kane in your rhymes. Like
I've
I
never
don't
heard
know.
I've never
You
heard the
never
Cool
heard
G Rap one, but
no,
that's cool
no.
though because he was a huge influence on me too. The thing
Mhm.
about Cool G Rap was he just mind-boggling listening to the way he rapped. It was so ahead of its time,
Yes.
and it was just something maybe subconsciously you pick up just because it's just so amazing, man. That's probably it, man.
Yeah. Yeah, but
But
yeah, I really and I listen to this other podcast, and it is my favorite podcast, and it's called Take It Personal. It's based out of the US. I think they've gone through phases of how frequently they've them in. The podcast is 5 years old, and I never heard about it until about 2 months ago. A friend of mine put me on, and it's like, oh, if you love Mos Def, or Yassine Bey, as he's called now, you need to listen to it. So it
Yeah.
was a full interview. It's like a 3 hour podcast. And this podcast, but what is different about it is that they play music, and they spin all of his hits, and then they spin it, they do another set, and it's all of the underground stuff, and then another set is um all of their favorite guest shots that he's done. But in between these sets, they kind of just talk about it. So I listened to that one. Then I listened to the second episode I ever heard. And again, it's another 3 hour episode. And it's like, oh, maybe they're just going to talk about Coogee Rap because I saw it was about, and then they actually had him as a guest. And I was
Mm.
mind blown because I've asked Coogee Rap to be on this podcast and we've never really connected. But the fact that they actually got him on and that he was so open in talking, and obviously these are much like me, fanboys of Coogee Rap, and really talk to Coogee Rap about his influence and what he's done, and how the game changed when him and Kane and Karis won, and Slick Rick, and obviously Rakim, and the list goes on and on. Really started rapping in the late 80s, and many can make the argument that 88 is the greatest year, if not 93 or 94 or any of those other years. But that's really when hip hop kind of took flight. And yeah, I think just hearing Coogee Rap, and you start to think about how many MCs that you really love is probably influenced by Coogee Rap. Like the Coogee Rap tree is crazy long. So,
Right. You're
and the
right.
roots are so
Right. And
deep.
the
So
crazy thing
that's
about
where
Coogee
when
Rap,
I started to hear that, and then when we kind of finally came to be and talking about this podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, here's another one. I didn't even put two and two together. Nish is from the Coogee Rap tree. I don't know whether he acknowledges or he even thought about it, but that you're already on it and you
uh,
already understand it totally. You are from the Coogee Rap tree.
and the cool thing about Coogee Rap is still current and active. Like I just heard stuff he did. I think he did an album with Ill Bill a couple of years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like it's like he hasn't missed a step. So I mean, that's very you know inspiring to see, man. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I know it. And he's been rapping for like literally, let's see, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Yeah, 4 decades. And
Yeah,
he's still going. 5 decades
yeah,
technically. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, 5 decades he's been rapping. So pretty amazing, what he has done, and how many people, still are impacted by, his sound, and his rhyme cadence. And again, like decades ahead of its time. And again, it's pretty special. So, you mentioned your
yeah.
project that you're working on, and maybe you can tell us a little bit the name of it so we can kind of keep an eye out for it. And then anything else that you kind of want to share in terms of where you think the next steps of your amazing rap career is going to go.
Well, basically, the EP is called Cedar Hill Variety, and it's just what the concept was they came to us and asked us to make like a little mini compilation. Well, not really a little mini EP of 5 songs that we like and they like. They had to like them too. I wanted to make sure they were pushing something that they like too. So we made a list. They agreed. There's a couple new songs on it too. So there's 3 old, 2 new.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, no release date yet, but I'll definitely give you the link when it's up and ready to start selling or when it's coming out
So
for sure.
looking
Any
forward
other
to it.
music? Me and Lance are working on other projects. We're just working on other EPs right now. We're just trying to get as many projects as done possible right now. That's the main goal right now.
Okay. So I think we can't wrap up because Cedar Hill is something you've mentioned and talked about for some time now. For
Yeah,
those that don't know, tell us the reference and why so many things related to your music is called Cedar Hill.
Cedar Hill is basically the team that me and Lance met on when we were playing minor league hockey. He later went to higher levels. I stayed at SHA, but he was like Lance was like a been one of my best friends since I've probably like grade 7. So it just makes sense that we're doing this project later in our careers. He's a super established beat maker, and I'm just trying to keep up with the crazy beats that he makes, man. And he's making me better by giving me these insane beats. Shout out Lance for, you know what I mean, always providing the best possible stuff he knows that will suit me. And there's no one I can turn to and that knows me better than Lance. So that's why it makes sense. And the reference comes from, yeah, the team that we played on in House League. It was called Cedarhill. I was called up to his team, and that's how we met. And then the next year he moved to my area. And from that day on, basically, we've been best friends, whether it was
That's
personal
amazing.
or with music too, So whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is
that's how,
totally
that's,
amazing. So that
yeah,
is Cedar Hill is as Scarborough as it comes, because yes,
pretty
that is
much.
the hockey team, and that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is based in Scarborough. And for those that know, you know. So Nish, again, it's been amazing to have you on the podcast. We're just wrapping up here. So how can people find you on social media, find your music? I think, obviously you're going to spark a lot of interest there, or, for those that haven't listened to you in a while and know that you're still making stuff, probably going to go and
Yeah.
check you. So how do we go and find you on social media?
Basically, I don't have much social media. I mean, my Twitter is Nish Raawks, and my IG is Nish underscore T dot. That's basically the best place to get me, because that's where I post all music. And if you want to inquire about anything, yeah, that's probably the best place to hit me up. Yeah,
Okay, dope. So yeah, and obviously, we would definitely check you. We would, definitely look for the new project coming out, the new Cedar Hill joint. But Nish, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's a rainy Saturday as we're recording this, and I know the schedules are busy, and you're in the studio, you're working other stuff. So
yeah,
really appreciate the time, and I'm so glad we got a chance to connect and talk and
for
catch
sure,
up a
man.
little bit. So wishing you all the best. We definitely see you in the streets. We'll see you at the shows. But again, really appreciate your time.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Okay, so again, everyone,
Okay, man.
thank you
Peace.
again for another amazing episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. We had Nish Raawks on. We have this podcast available on all streaming platforms: Google, iHeartRadio, definitely on Apple and Spotify. And then you will also be able to find the video version. It will be available on YouTube. So thanks for listening, everyone. Much appreciated, and have a great day. And thank you for listening again to Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. The merch is out. It is ready. Check the link in on the Instagram and hit me a DM and we can get you some stuff. Peace.